The Monster Hunter Wilds wishlist is about to continue, my friends. So far we talked about the visuals and the general gameplay place that I want to see in Wilds, but today we're tackling a topic that most people don't really care for. The story. Hunters, let's be real. Nobody ever picked up a Monster Hunter game and said, damn, I can't wait to see the story of such memorable characters such as the Handler, the A-lister, the other Handler, the Commander, the Ganondorf. Monster Hunter plots have always been a string of shallow reasons to turn a monster into a hat, which I'm totally fine with. In my opinion, there are only 2 games with decent stories. No, not that kind of stories. Although that one is a pretty good one, not gonna lie. I'm talking about the narratives in Monster Hunter 4 as well as the one in Rise and Sunbreak. So before I get into what I want in Wilds, let's talk about the examples that I think are good Monster Hunter stories, right? First, the characters in Monster Hunter 4. You remember Aiden, aka the excitable A-lister? Well, he was actually in a few other Monster Hunter pieces besides World and Iceborne. Our boy here was actually the protagonist in Monster Hunter Legends, and he was also part of the main crew in 4U. This game had this cool setting where we were actually in multiple settings as we traveled to different villages with tons of great characters. The cast was cool and the locations were memorable, and having this caravan style story where you would go to different places to hunt different monsters with your crew was actually a really cool concept. And Wilds has a strong potential to mimic this, but like I said, we'll talk about that later. Let's continue with the NPC talk because I make this joke a lot, but World made the insanely questionable decision of not naming anyone. I bet 99% of people just remember a couple of characters such as the Handler for being annoying as fuck. Then you got the guy who just can't find his Dragonator, which is beyond me. Like, how the hell do you lose a spear the size of Zora Magnus's dick? You got this dude who's only remembered because he's the only longsword player in existence that's actually kind of cool. And then again, you got the Ganondorf copyright walking around and for some reason never bringing a damn weapon to a single hunt. Just in case you're new here, chill out. This is just comedic overkill. I use it all in my videos. I really like World and Iceborne. Okay, chill out in the comments. Rise and Sunbreak turned this trend of lackluster cast members around by having the best character. God, I love Hinoa. There was also a bunch of quirky personalities that would revolutionize the way that we look at NPCs in Monster Hunter, because the follower system was by far one of the coolest things ever to be added. I'll talk more about the ins and outs of the follower system in another video. For now, let's just stick to the overall concept, right? Because getting to actually hunt along your favorite characters was just cool. And if the follower system was in World, then maybe I would have been able to tolerate this fucking creature. But as much as I love the characters in 4U and Risebreak, the most important characters for me are the monsters. Because a single monster has the ability to completely change the way in which you see the game. Let's go back to 4U again, because it debuted this really cool monster called Gore Magala. Gore here is actually very active within the story and creates a sense of rivalry because he shows up a bunch of times. Here is Gore trying to Valstrax your way into your ship.
Hey bro, watch your jet. Watch your jet, bro. Watch your jet!
We all know Gore Magala is very popular. He looks really edgy and villainous, and he's got this really good lore to back him up. If you didn't already know, the scales that Gore Magala leaves behind contain something called the Frenzy Virus, which, upon contact, sends a monster into a deep primal rage where it will attack anything that moves. You can see how this could cause unrepairable damage to the delicate ecosystems in Monster Hunter. Basically, Gore exists. And that is wrong. So you chase him around and you clean up his mess, and then you finally beat him, you save the day, and all is well and good. Unless. You know how after you fail a quest, you usually go back and change your gear or change your playstyle around so you're more prepared for the next fight? You're not the only one prepping here. After his defeat, Gore decides that the only way to win is to adapt, and so he evolves into the angelic looking elder dragon that we all know and love, Shigaru Magala. Or if you're one of my viewers, Shmagala. God, I hate you guys. Story-wise, you actually only get one Gore who evolves into Shigaru, which is pretty cool. The monster you probably thought was just a mindless beast is actually intelligent enough to evolve and challenge you once again for one final showdown. This kind of rivalry made the hunt just so much more personal and fun and more intense for me. And then when you move over to Sunbreak, there's actually a really good plot twist towards the end of the story. The entire story in Sunbreak leads you to believe that Malzeno and Geismagorm are fighting over territory, resulting in the destruction of whatever or whoever gets caught in the way, like the Admiral's family. That's why he's so cranky. But as it turns out, what we thought was a regular Malzeno was actually a variant from its original form. Once we meet Primordial Malzeno, our whole outlook on the story changes. This entire time, we thought that we were the good guys and we were doing all the protecting of the kingdom. But actually, the real hero is this guy. This majestic elder dragon took it upon itself to fight back the Curio parasites that infected other monsters while powering up Geismagorm for its ascension. To make it clear, turf wars are no rare occurrences. I mean, it happens between low tier monsters and elder dragons alike. Monsters will often just beat each other up while you're just sat there at the kids' table with absolutely no purpose. But Primordial Malzeno shows a new concept. I vividly remember that the cutscene that plays after you beat your first Primordial Malzeno is just phenomenal. You realize that he's there to keep the balance, but he can't really do it alone. You and Fiorane then side with him to defeat the Curio, and once it's done, he just stands in front of you, gives you a sign of respect, and then leaves. Thanks to your help, he was able to fulfill his duty, and so he has no further purpose to stay until he is needed again. I think the concept behind a monster like Primordial Malzeno ties really well with our purpose as a hunter. We're here to maintain the peace and balance of the ecosystems. And having a monster who not only aligns with those principles, but also actively supports you in combat is just so cool. Also, just in case you haven't figured it out, yes, Primordial Malzeno is my absolute favorite monster, and I can hardly contain my excitement when I talk about it. So far, the overall point is that good characters that provide a sense of belonging and monsters that challenge your views as a hunter are very important elements of a good Monster Hunter story. I know I've been yapping for a while. I mean, we're like 7 minutes into the video and I haven't even told you what I want in Wilds yet, but I needed to give you the fundamental knowledge for what I want in Wilds. Because in this game, we're going to be treading upon new land. We're going to be in some of the more unexplored parts of the world, and there is a lot of potential there. You can have a really interesting cast consisting of some sort of special task force trusted with mapping out this new area. This becomes even more likely when you think about the story behind World, right? You arrive in Astera as part of the 5th Fleet, meaning that someone had to be there first. The 1st Fleet actually had a pretty good mix of different characters, like some excelled at hunting, others were researchers, some with scholars, and so on. This could very easily be replicated within Wilds. Think of it like this. A group of scholars have been sent to this region of the world to investigate some ancient ruins, like these man-made lightning rods, or what I like to call the big fucking circle. You are assigned a security alongside 3 other hunters so that you're there to keep the scholars safe. Naturally, you will also need a specialist group of craftsmen that can focus on the infrastructure and equipment needed. This format would give us a sustainable cycle in which the craftsman provides us with the equipment, we take down the monsters, and the scholars find information to send back to the guild, or maybe they just find things that we can use to, improve our equipment and infrastructure. I'm not gonna lie, I'm no game developer and I fully trust the development team so that they can put together a nice group of interesting personalities for us to spend some time with in these new lands. But like I said, this is the more vanilla safe option. I think that there is another direction the story could take that is a bit more interesting. What if instead of being a party commissioned by the guild, we were a part of a standalone tribe or some sort of self-sufficient mercenary group? If there is one thing that the writer tribes from Monster Hunter stories have taught me, is that not everyone sees eye to eye with the guild. To further prove my point, there is a dude in Legends of the Guild who is a retired hunter that fucked off to live alone in the woods as a smithy. So who's to say that we're not a part of a group of former guild members who grew tired of their shit and decided to settle in unexplored territory? Again, this feeds into that self-sustaining cycle I mentioned earlier, but it adds on another layer of complexity, because we all know that some monster is going to stir up trouble that we will have to deal with. But what if this were to draw the attention of the guild, and they end up fighting our hitting tribe? Do you guys really think that they would be kind to deserters? Or to make things even more interesting, what if the problems that we're coming across as our standalone tribe have been caused by the guild? I'm about to mention a bit of a taboo topic for the Monster Hunter community, which is the equal dragon weapon. For those of you who don't know, this is a conspiracy theory that claims that the guild has a secret weapon that they built as an amalgamation of dead elder dragons that they put together. The guild intentionally meant for the equal dragon weapon to be some sort of counter to the most powerful black dragons out there, but for some reason, it never saw the light of day. I'm not saying that the equal dragon weapon has to become canon in order to feed this sort of story, but something similar could well fit the role. Maybe the guild was studying a chemical compound that would make it so Gypceros wouldn't destroy farmland, and it ended up mutating monsters and upsetting some big elder dragon. The possibilities for guild-related incidents are very interesting, and they could well become a reality. When it comes to monsters, well, I'm pretty sure that we'll have to deal with a big snake of sorts, possibly even a couple like Ibushi and Narwa. I mean, just look at this logo. It's either a two-headed, hydra-like monster or a couple of slithery snippery snakes. Regardless, I hope that we can continue seeing some sort of bond between the monster and the hunter, such as a rivalry or a potential friendship, really. For example, if we end up getting two snakes, maybe they're fighting amongst themselves and we can sort of decide which one we want to help. Oh my god, that would be so cool. Can you imagine, like, different endings in a Monster Hunter game? Say what? But yeah, there really isn't an awful lot to say in the monster side of things because I'm pretty sure the devs will cook up something that blows our minds. But that's enough for me today. Don't forget to leave a comment telling me what you want to see story-wise in Wilds. Also, don't forget to watch the other episodes in the series if